So now we've got our frames in position and we've got them aligned. Well, let's go ahead and make sure I save this file again so that we get the space distribution correct. So now they're being aligned within the center of this row. So that puts them where they need to be vertically. And now we need to add the functionality to actually make our slide appear out from underneath whenever we click on one of these. We can actually do this easier than you may expect. Let's go over. The first thing that we'll need is an actual piece of state to determine which of these slides is open. So let's go up, and from React, let's also destructure out the useState function. And we'll go ahead and at the beginning of our function under our const of classes, let's add the const of expanded and then set expanded equal to the useState of null. So that way we'll start off with none of them being open. Then what we'll do is we'll come down to the icon button. We'll give it an on click. So whenever a user clicks on this icon button, it'll call this arrow function. And we'll first check if expanded is equal to the index of the slide that we're currently on. So we'll go ahead and store the index for the open slide in our expanded piece of state. So if that is true, and we click on this and the index is already in the state, that means we've clicked on a slide that was already open. So if it's already open, we'll go ahead and set expanded to null and go ahead and close it out. Otherwise, if we click on it and the index is not already in the state, that means it was closed. So we'll go ahead and set expanded to the index of that slide. And that'll go ahead and tell it that it needs to open up. So now, of course, we need some styles or functionality to actually open it up and slide it out from underneath. So we'll do this if we come up to our style object, and underneath of slide, we're going to create slide left and we're going to create slide right. We'll open these up. Now what we can do to actually move them over is use the transform property. So this allows us to transform and do rigid transformations on our object. So we'll go ahead and use the translate transformation, and we'll translate this out for the left. It means we want to move it in the left direction horizontally, which is going to be negative. So we'll slide it over negative 24.5 rem and then 0 pixels up and down. Okay. And then this will just make sure it doesn't slide all the way out, but just almost all the way. And then we still have a little bit hidden underneath it. Then for slide right, we can go ahead and copy that. And this will now be positive 24.5 rem, moving it over into the right direction. Make sure we also get the transform property there. And so now to actually move the slide out, we just need to apply one of these classes depending on the alignment. So if we click on it and it's expanded, well, if we are here, we want it to slide out to the right. If we're in the middle, we'll go ahead and slide it out to the right. But if we're over on the last one, we don't have any space on the right, so we'll slide it over to the left. All right, so let's go ahead and let's scroll on down here where we set our classes of classes.slide. We're going to need to conditionally also add slide left and slide right. So we'll go up and let's actually import CLSX from CLSX, and that is our library for conditionally adding classes. We'll come down and we'll go ahead and wrap this in parentheses and call CLSX because we always want it to have the slide class, but we'll add an object. And now in brackets, we want to add the classes.slideLeft class only if the expanded piece of state is equal to that slide's index and the alignment for that slide is equal to flex end. So we only want to slide left if we're on the last one that is aligned to the flex end, and then add a comma, and classes.slideRight should only be applied if expanded is equal to the index of that slide and the alignment is equal to flex start or the alignment is equal to center. Okay, and we'll go ahead and wrap that second piece of the and statement in parentheses to make sure that it checks this first and also the expanded. Because if we didn't, then it would try to check this first part or align equals center, and then that would always be true. So make sure to wrap that in parentheses, so this executes as one statement and this executes as one statement. All right, so let's go ahead and save that and flip on over to the browser. And if I go ahead and click on this, oh, check that out. We got our slide appearing. And if we click it again, it disappears. Now, this looks pretty good, but we definitely don't want it just popping up like that. I think it would be a lot cooler if it actually slid out from underneath. So the way we can do this, if we come back to our slide classes, where we have transform, what we want to do is transition that property. The transition property allows us to essentially animate in between different states. So we want to transition the transform property, and we'll do it for 0.5 seconds. So that's the duration of the transition. And let's go ahead and ease the transition. So that means it'll slightly speed up at the beginning and then slightly slow down at the end. So let's go ahead and copy that onto our slide right as well. Or actually, we can take it off of these and let's just put it on the slide class, because that way it will always be applied no matter which one of these we're at. So then it'll always transition us anytime the transform property changes, such as when we add this extra class, and that'll go ahead and smooth it out. So if we go ahead and save that, we can flip on over. And now if I go ahead and click it, you see that it actually does slide in and out, which is pretty cool. It's still not perfect though, because we see how it's popping up on top of the image before it slides over. We definitely don't want that. We want it to always be behind the image. So let's go ahead and we can do this if we give our slide class a z index of 0. This z index sets essentially the stacking order of your elements, with lowest being farther away and highest being on top. So if we go ahead and set the slide to a z index of 0 and we give our frame a z index of 1, that'll make sure that the frame always appears on top of our slide. All right, so let's go ahead, save that. And now if we flip on over and we click it, check that out. We actually have a pretty cool little animation here that toggles the slide transition between our animations. So see how it toggles each one open and close, and then if we click on another one itself, that just goes and closes it, since it detects that the index is already in the state, and so due to the logic that we set up, it will go ahead and clear it out. So this looks really good. We just got a really cool effect for interactivity added to our page, even though it was a little bit of some complex work and logic. I think that was worth it though. It's a really cool effect. I really like it. So let's go ahead and take a break now, and we'll come back in the next video and actually finish up by adding the content to our slide.